TYT has 6 million subscribers and just so conveniently have shifted to anything but resistance, anything but holding the line, any way that we could find a way to have a kumbaya moment with MAGA. I'm sorry, but if you all had 6 million subscribers, if I had 6 million subscribers in this moment, I think we would be rallying them into action. I think we would be moving our audience to stand in direct opposition to what MAGA is doing. But instead, Cenk Uygur of TYT is busy trying to hobnob with the rich and famous over there in MAGA land.
In this clip from the great people over at the Vanguard, we have former TYT host Ben Dixon, who is not holding back. He's calling out Cenk Uygur and also Dr. Phil for selling out, cozying up to MAGA, and abandoning the so-called progressive movement. There are some great points within this clip that I'm going to be checking out and of course giving you my unfiltered take, so let's go ahead and get right into it.
Meanwhile, Anna Kasparian sees her numbers are down, so now she decided to go ahead and pick yet another fight, this time with Emma Vigeland and Francesca, right? She is intentionally engaging in this type of clickbaity and type of activity. Why? Because she needs to find her way further in the right as well. They've been doing it right in front of our eyes. And Zach and Gavin, let me tell you, that's why I appreciate your work. You all have been holding it down on this message from day one, actually, well, day two, because Ole Olurin, she was the one who I think she peeped it before all the rest of us.
Yeah, Ole definitely got on TYT and really kind of made it all clear when Cenk decided to just come at her for no fucking reason when she was having a friendly debate with him about cash bail. He said that she went on the show to argue to abolish all prisons, which is absolutely not true. He was crashing out on Twitter arguing with David Dole of all people. David Dole is a sweetheart, man. There is absolutely nothing that you could say about David Dole that would prickle any feathers. If you guys look at it, he looks like a Boy Scout. He's literally got his Twitter profile picture in front of a lake with canoes, and it's a picture of him holding his son. You'd have to be a monster to try and come for, like, you know what I mean? Like, the guy is really,
tell me about it.
And so it's like, okay, so you're gonna make fun of a public defender from in Flatbush, Brooklyn, who comes on your show and says, no, dude, we actually shouldn't allow rich people to stay out of jail for crimes, and then put those poorer people in jail for that exact same crime. And essentially, we have to remind everybody that's what cash bail is. If you have money, you're out of jail. If you don't have money, you're in jail. So it's a crime for poor people, but not for rich people, right?
And yet, this is somehow controversial to the folks at TYT now. If you suddenly have a problem with someone saying rich people get treated differently in the justice system, then congratulations, you've officially joined the establishment you claim to fight. This isn't some grand revelation. This is how the system has always worked. You think a billionaire ever worries about getting locked up for tax fraud? Meanwhile, some guy who can't afford bail for a minor offense sits in a cell for months, pressured into taking a plea deal just to get out. It's modern day debtor's prison, but instead of owing the king, you just owe a system that exists to keep poor people down. And it's funny because people like Cenk used to scream about this exact issue. TYT spent years ranting about how the criminal justice system is rigged against the poor. Now that it's inconvenient for their new rebranding strategy, suddenly it's all nuance and context, and they switch up into saying, well, actually, we need to be tough on crime. Yeah, okay. Next thing you know, Cenk is going to be doing segments about how we need more police funding. Trust me, give it a year. And the craziest part, the people defending this nonsense will turn around and act like they're still the resistance. They are not. They're just controlled opposition at this point, watered down, diet progressivism, just progressive enough to still sell TYT merch, but not enough to actually change the system. Let me know if you guys agree with this point down in the comments, but that's truly what I believe. Let's keep going into the next points.
And you know what they always say about jail? If you go in, you stay in. If you get out, you stay out. You know what I mean? So if after they book you, you get bail, well, it's going to be a lot harder for them to just, kind of keep you, negotiate you, because they put pressure on you when you're in that jail to plead to something. For people in our audience, I know you guys are aware of the, lengths of the carceral state. And so now they're just ever expanding it, right? And I want to tie it all back to that, because I think it's important that we all understand the treatment that is the harm that's being done to the quote unquote undocumented folks, right? The quote unquote illegal immigrants, the quote unquote, these are people who are our neighbors, right? These are people who are in our country and that we have to look out for, and that we want the rights that we have to be afforded to all of them. That's what made America great. You're on our fucking soil. Guess what? You have our rights too. We're trying to change that. We're fucking with it. And as soon as you start to fuck with that, it's going to turn around and bite you in the ass because they're going to find another reason to make you illegal. Oh, well, RICO cases, they don't get any. Oh, that's terrorism. Like, oh, that's domestic. Oh, no. Now they're going to be treated like we treat the undocumented folks, right? That's
right.
how they keep tightening it. And then it's like, and then it doesn't matter. Oh, you were part of the organized crime syndicate, even though you might just be a socialist group, right? That's trying to advocate for green justice. Now they're going to RICO you, they're going to spy on you, and they're going to throw you away in Guantanamo Bay. This is how we are creating those opportunities for our own government to subjugate us and persecute us more. And we're doing it by saying it doesn't impact us in some way, or it impacts us in some lesser capacity because these folks are without the adequate paperwork. And when you just say it out loud, you're like, no, it's okay that those people don't have the same rights as me. Their paperwork is different. It's like, what are you talking about, dog? Your paperwork could change like that.
Yes. Yes. And I want to bring that a little closer, if I could, for my black people. And I don't know how many black folks you got watching. I know there's some. I know there's quite a few, actually. Because it makes absolutely no sense for a black person in the United States of America, descendant of an enslaved African in America, to call the snitch hotline for ICE. It just is a disgusting disgrace. It is a slight to our ancestors, because ICE is the Gestapo of white supremacy. And just because they're currently being used for deportation does not mean that they cannot be easily transformed into being used for what they'll say is criminal justice. But what it actually means is everything black people have experienced in this country since 1619 will come back in full force. And they will impact not only black people, they're coming after gay people, they're coming after unions, they're coming after woke white dudes such as yourselves. They're coming after all of us. Why? Because they know they can't win in the battlefield of ideas. They know they can't win at the ballot box of democracy. And so now they're executing force, starting slowly with the big lie, and they're going all the way the distance. I don't think anyone should fool themselves. MAGA will go the full distance to complete and total brutal subjugation and authoritarianism.
I mean, it's the TYT brand. Everything is the apocalypse all of the time. I swear, man, progressives on YouTube have been screaming fascism is here every 5 minutes since 2016. And look, I'm not saying MAGA isn't insane, but the theatrics get old. It's always the same script. We're literally inches away from authoritarian rule unless you subscribe to TYT and buy our new book. Like, come on, guys. And look, if MAGA was really this unstoppable force marching toward totalitarianism, do you think they'd be struggling to win basic elections? These people couldn't even get their own red wave in 2022. These people didn't have a red wave that they desperately wanted back in 2022. Half of them are too busy arguing which Trump-endorsed candidate was a secret Democrat plant to actually accomplish anything. But according to TYT, they've already set up FEMA camps and we're about 5 minutes from living in a dystopian nightmare. The funny thing is, this isn't about stopping authoritarianism. It's about manufacturing fear. They need this hysteria to keep their audience locked in, because if their viewers actually took a step back and thought critically for a second, they might realize that TYT's quote-unquote resistance is just a glorified content mill. They're not fighting MAGA, they're monetizing it. And while TYT rants about MAGA using force, they conveniently ignore the fact that their own side, big tech, corporate media, the government, wields an insane amount of power to censor and deplatform anyone who doesn't toe the progressive line. They don't call that force, though, do they? It's funny how that works. MAGA is fascism, but left-wing censorship is just accountability. Sure.
Yeah, very well put. And if I could just add, to kind of counter that point, and say, as a white American, you look back and people always say like, oh, how could we do this? Right. Oh my God, how could you do that? Like, oh, how could my ancestors have turned the other eye? Well, you're kind of finding out right now. You know what I mean? You're kind of finding out right now where you would have fallen, right? When the battle lines were drawn. Because let me tell you what, there was a lot less information going around in the 1850s. Okay. You might have gotten way easier brainwash. If you're getting brainwashed now, you would have been a lost fucking cause in the 1850s. I'm telling you, if you're even sitting on the fence with this shit, You would have
Yes.
been riding with the Ku Klux Klan. I'm sorry.
Yes.
You don't like it because you don't like the truth. But I'm telling you, back then, you would have been like a John Wayne, like, let's go out and hunt the Comanche, motherfucker. That's what you would have been. You would have been like, oh, we got to get all them there on our land. That's the same logic. You'd have gone out hunting Indians. You know, you'd have burned crosses, intimidated. That's you. If this is you in 2025, that was you in 1855,
That's right.
1755. That's you.
Yes.
Right? And you can either own that or you can change.
You know what? But that makes me so happy that there's some dope white boys and girls and gender non-conforming squirrels, right? There's plenty of woke white folk who have always historically ridden with us, right? It wasn't always a lot. You know, sometimes it was just John Brown, you know, and we appreciate that. And so what we need right now is we don't, you know, not necessarily John Brown is on the board, though. I'll put it like that. We're not gonna promote it, but you know, just like the draft, we look at the clock. John Brown is on the board. Why? Because of what they're willing to do to people. And if we could sit back and watch someone get snatched up from their homes, and we say nothing, or even worse, we're the one that called it in, then what happens when they turn that lion, those fangs on us, like they have historically already done, black folk? And so to all my woke white folk and everybody else in between, we need you all to stand up right now. I don't care if it's just 50 people in the audience. Y'all forgive me for preaching to the audience, but I'm serious. 50 people can get out there and change a narrative. 500 can get, but then I think about the 6 million that TYT has. And here we are scrambling, trying to get the word out to the best of our ability, fighting against the algorithm, amplifying each other, lifting each other up, going on each other's shows. Why? Because we know the truth. We know what they're really about, and we know what we have to do, but we don't have the resources of 20 years of progressive investment that gave TYT their 6 million subscribers that they're literally doing nothing with, as the barbarians are in their own gates.
Ding, ding, ding. TYT's entire empire wasn't built by some grassroots uprising of progressive voices. It was bankrolled, it was boosted, and it was algorithmically privileged. And now that they've cashed in on that investment, they're playing both sides, pretending to be independent thinkers while still keeping a toe in the establishment. I mean, like, come on, TYT was one of the first major political channels YouTube pushed. They got backing from mainstream Democrat donors, big-time investors, even corporations. That's why they were able to build a massive studio, hire a huge staff, and dominate the algorithm for years. Meanwhile, actual independent creators, people trying to challenge both the left and the right, had to fight to even get seen. And now, after all of that help, after 20 years of pretending to be the rebellious outsiders, they're doing nothing with their platform. They've got 6 million subscribers, but are they actually leading a movement? Are they organizing anything? Are they using that influence to push back against corruption? Nope, they're too busy having Twitter fights and chasing clout. I mean, Ben Dixon is right. While smaller channels are hustling to get a real message out, TYT is sitting on the golden throne, too afraid to rock the boat. And I know I've been smashing on TYT this entire episode, but this is my final point, which is TYT loves to act like they're fighting the system, but they are the system now. They are the CNN of YouTube, the MSNBC of online politics. They are establishment media in a hippier, more casual package. They do the same tricks, sensationalism, fear-mongering, pushing narratives that conveniently align with whatever the mainstream left wants. And when someone calls them out, they turn into the very thing they used to mock. Peril-clutching, defensive, crying about bad faith attacks while refusing to address the substance of the criticism. It's honestly embarrassing. They used to be the loudest voice on the left calling out corporate Democrats, and now they are corporate Democrats. So I agree with Ben Dixon. I mean, he isn't just calling them out for fun, he's exposing what a lot of people have already figured out. TYT isn't progressive media anymore. They're just another media company looking for their bottom line, and that's why people are tuning out. Of course, that's my unfiltered take. As always, I would love to hear what you guys think, whether or not you agree or disagree with the points that I made, the points that Ben Dixon made. Let me know down in the comments below. Be sure to give us a like and subscribe so we can outcompete TYT eventually. And of course, we'll see you guys in the next one.